If you had a gender neutral Olympics, how many women, biological female women, would win gold medals if it was open to men and women? The answer is literally like they might win one or two.
I'm trying to stay above. You're creating this world that makes great click.
No, I'm not. Honestly, I'm not.
People to see commenting.
No. I'm throwing back at you the thing you throw back at other people, which is science. I'm telling you, when you had a little disagreement about this very hot potato issue, about the science of trans athletes in women's sport. Let's take a look.
Engage with the idea here. What I'm asking is, Scientific American is saying basically that the reason why an WNBA team can't beat the Lakers is because of societal bias.
What you're saying is not Scientific American says that. An editor for Scientific American says that, who no longer has the job. So don't indict a 170-year-old magazine because somebody...
Okay, this is called Scientific American, and they're printing something
because someone enters the cesspool that is social media and then participates in that exchange. So
why can't you
let's talk about science?
Why can't you just say this is not scientific and Scientific American should do better?
Piers Morgan and Neil deGrasse Tyson go head-to-head in a fight with trans athletes in women's sports. Piers, never one to hold back, challenges Neil's perspective on the science behind trans women competing against biological women. As tensions rise and the conversation heats up, Piers makes a bold argument and Neil attempts to defend the complexities of the issue. Let's dive into this clash and I'll give you my take on what's really going on.
So I have been on this issue for a long time, and I am surprised, given your earlier statement just now about the importance that we have a fact-based society where science is based on reality and everything else. There is there not? I would put it to you, Neil. There is a cold, hard reality about this whole trans issue, which is that I'm sure like you, I absolutely want all trans people to have utter equality and fairness in the way that I do and you do. Absolutely. I've never said anything different. However, not to the point where it erodes women's rights to fairness and equality. And there is clearly a growing unfairness and inequality from the issue of people who are born biologically male, identifying as women and being allowed to compete against biological females, and then beginning increasingly to be quite dominant, to the extent where we saw people winning in the boxing in the Paris Olympics. We've seen the Footballer of the Year, Women's Footballer of the Year in the UK, voted by the BBC, Barbara Banda from Zambia, also has been banned for sex-related issues in terms of not being allowed to compete in previous tournaments, and so on and so on. The UN just had a big report which said that 900 medals around the world in competitive sport have been deprived from female athletes because trans athletes had won. So I put it to you that you're a scientist. It is clearly an indisputable scientific fact that biological males have a superior power and stamina and lung power and all these other things to biological females, because if they didn't, we would never separate the sexes in sport. The Olympics would be gender neutral, and they're not for a reason. Women wouldn't win anything. So when I hear you try and justify it or say that there's a scientific, and maybe there's not, maybe I'm misquoting you here, but there's some kind of scientific reason why it's fine. I'm like, hang on, Neil, you're Mr. Reality Check. You can see that this is wrong without it actually having to be transphobic to say that.
Well, so you have me here live on your show. We don't have to comment on other shows. So let's just have this conversation.
Yeah.
So I did my own study of the relative speed of men relative to women in Olympic sports, the world records, from the 100 meters to the 200 meters, the 400, right on up to the marathon. And what I noticed is in every event, on average, men were 10% faster than women, 10% faster. And in events that require strength, that percent was even higher. I forgot what my exact number, it might have been 50% stronger. So that's not, there's no dispute there. That's
right.
Just objective truth. So now we have to ask, why do we watch sports at all? Okay? And at Friday Night Lights, that's in the United States, that's high school football. Saturday, it's college football. Sunday, it's the NFL. Do you realize, of course, that the worst team ever in the NFL could wipe its ass with the best team ever in college. Why? Because every single player in the NFL was the best person in their college. But we still like watching college. We don't watch college and say, the Philadelphia Eagles could whip their ass, so let's not watch it. No, we like the equality of the contest and not knowing who would win. That's what makes sports fun. Okay, so if there's a wave of trans women who dominate the sport against other women, all those sports will become less interesting based on how we all watch sports. Even the Super Bowl here in the United States, if it's a blowout by halftime, nobody watches the second half.
Right.
We watch it for the equality of the contest. Okay, so
Sounds like you agree
all
with
I'm
me then.
saying is, like you said, wait, I'm almost done. So what I see is sports is on the frontier of how to handle this frontier of people who are trans. It's on the frontier of how to resolve that. And I'm making this up now. Imagine the future of sports does not distinguish sex. It distinguishes and sorts people by hormone ratios. I'm making this up, but imagine that if that were the case. That would be interesting. You get a hormone test, you're in this range, and then you compete against other people with the same range of
That's
hormones.
ridiculous. Every single person in sport.
Hold on. I used to wrestle. And wrestling, there are people who weigh, sorry, am I using pounds here, 125 pounds, right on up to 240 pounds. They don't wrestle each other. The entire sport separates people so that the contest is interesting.
Yeah.
And so the people of the same weight wrestle each other, and that is the contest.
But if Floyd Mayweather,
I don't know if that's how it will land.
Hang on, Neil. If Floyd Mayweather fought a woman boxer, a female woman boxer, who was the same weight division, he would annihilate her. That's why we don't let it happen. And in fact, in the Paris Olympics, the winner of one of the women's boxing competitions, one of the females who took her on.
About.
Well, yeah, but my point is that I just think that, if you don't mind me saying, I say this respectfully because I love you, but it just seems to me like you've dug yourself into a slight hole on this issue, and you're trying to get out of it, and then suggesting slightly mad theories. Whereas the science to me is obvious. You've already given the best argument I've heard for why we separate the sexes.
Hold on, you misquoted me in this very interview. What I said was the idea of creating categories within a sport, splitting them in the example I gave, which I just made it up, like hormone ratios, is not fundamentally weird compared to dividing wrestlers by weight.
The back and forth here is really a clash of two valid points of view. Piers, no doubt, is laying out the harsh reality. Biological males typically have advantages in strength, speed, and stamina. That's why we've always separated the sexes in sports, to make sure the competition is fair. Piers is not necessarily denying trans rights, he's simply calling out the fact that when trans women compete in women's events, they bring an inherent physical advantage with them. This is not a knock on trans athletes, but rather an acknowledgement of biology and how it impacts the outcome of competition. It's about fairness, not discrimination. But Neil is not wrong either. He is pushing for a more nuanced approach, recognizing that simply separating sports by sex might not be the most equitable solution in a world where gender and biology are becoming more complex. The idea of dividing athletes by hormone levels, as strange as that might sound, is Neil's attempt to find a middle ground. He acknowledges that it's not necessarily the answer, but a possible solution. He's trying to push the conversation forward to a place where inclusivity and fairness can coexist. And to be fair, his point about the complexities of biology is valid.
No, it is.
The only reason why you do this is to make an interesting contest.
No, Neil, you're wrong.
And so you said Floyd Mayweather fight. Hold on.
You're
wrong.
Said
Floyd Mayweather.
You're not allowing for the superior male biology when it comes to lung capacity, stamina, to body mass, to muscle mass, all those things. If you just take one criteria of hormones, you're not allowing all that. I'll give an example. Caitlyn Jenner, who obviously...
Let me
finish my point. Caitlyn Jenner was an Olympic male decathlon gold medal winner. Caitlyn is a big golf fan. And when she started playing golf after she transitioned, she was allowed to play off the women's tees, which are 50 yards further than the men's tees. And she quickly realized that she was still smashing it 300 yards down, and obviously was then beating all the women that she played. So she now plays back off the male tees because her biology is that of a man. And I feel that that was the most honest way to deal with it. I also feel that if you want to have a separate category, have a trans category or have trans women compete against men, which is their biology. Isn't that the scientific way to resolve this?
I don't have a solution. What I started this section of the conversation by saying that how you handle trans athletes is a frontier in sports that does not yet have a full solution. And so, and I made up an example, like maybe you could divide people by hormones. I don't know if that would work physiologically, but at the end of the day, we watch sporting events because they are competitively interesting. And so something's going to have to get resolved there. And I don't have that solution.
I do.
I do.
And
I just tossed up hormones.
You have a trans category, or you have the trans women compete against biological men, which is what they are. And I completely respect trans rights.
That may be, that may be how it settles, but I don't know. But I'm telling you, it's a frontier without a current solution that everybody agrees to. That's all I'm telling you. And I started this by affirming, yes, men are faster and stronger than the average man is stronger and faster too. World-class men are faster and stronger than world-class women. Obviously, there's huge overlap when you come down the rest of the distribution.
The truth is,
but
if you had a gender-neutral Olympics, how many women, biological female women, would win gold medals if it was open to men and women? The answer is literally like they might win one or two.
You know, I'm trying to stay above. You're creating this world that makes great clickbait. And
no, I'm not. Honestly,
people to see comments.
No. I honestly, I'm throwing back at you the thing you throw back at other people, which is science. I'm telling you that it's the scientifically, unless you say otherwise, and I don't think you do, because you've already explained that men have a superior speed of power.
I'm not saying otherwise. I started this.
The science is clear.
I started this by saying it.
But the science is clear, isn't it?
And I'm saying the solution isn't clear, even if the science is. And so that's all. We can debate what could work. I think the world has to figure it out, and maybe they'll figure it out one day. And maybe it is hormone ratios. I don't know. But if it is hormone ratios and we don't compete sexes, we compete by hormones, that's a whole other interesting future of athletics. By the way, every Olympics, I pause and think to myself, which of these events can and should not be separated by sex? There are some already that are the case. And the equestrian. The equestrian does not separate men from women.
Equestrian and shooting, I think, also is another one where if they're sitting and shooting, there's no reason.
I didn't know. Yeah. So I just figured there's some that would be the case, and we can start there and just work our way up. So yeah, it's a frontier. People are thinking about it. Top people are thinking about it. And I'm not going to be the one who will have that solution.
Fair enough.
At the end, I know when you're watching sports, you want to watch people who have equivalent talent compete.
At the end of the day, the debate comes down to fairness, and unfortunately, fairness is being sacrificed for the sake of inclusivity. We cannot keep pretending that biological differences do not matter when it comes to sports. It is time to have an honest conversation about how we handle trans athletes, whether that is creating separate categories or acknowledging the clear advantages of biological males in women's sports. What do you think? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more bold and unapologetic content.